Yo, pod! This is Meat Mitch, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Start
the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Hey, welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, and continuing to be the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I also continue to be Greg Rempe, your program host. Happy to have you aboard here for your live fire, fun, and frivolity show. If you see fit to join in tonight, give me your hot item take. Here's your contact info.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to greg@bbqcentralshow.com or on the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter. It's the second Tuesday of a brand new month and a brand new year. And that, of course, means a visit from none other than the creator of the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling website on the face of the earth, Meathead from AmazingRibs.com, joins us for the first time this year. So we're starting the new year off right. We are going to be talking about something that 2 weeks ago, I don't know if anybody even gave any consideration to, but as the teeth of this week took hold, oh, yes, it's winter, it's cold. Currently in Cleveland, it's 18 balmy ambient temperature degrees outside. So what should we be talking about with Meathead? We should be talking about cold weather grilling tips. Did you forget about those? Things that you should be practicing, tips that you should be implementing. And there are a few key items that whenever I am asked about this subject, I always make sure that I bring up because they might not be on the top of your mind. And one of those items, if not taken into account in the cold, in the extreme cold, will leave you screwed, is the best way to say it. And we'll leave it at that. So that's what we'll be talking about with Meathead this evening. Also, if time allows, we might be talking about a little on this whole potential revolution of the grilling scene and grilling appliances that may be coming out of the gas variety. And we'll see how the cold weather talk goes. And then we might meander a little bit into a potential whole new landscape, or as the Little Mermaid said, a whole new world for you and me as it relates to grilling and how you might be doing that going forward, or at least have an option to do that going forward. So we'll see how it goes. Then 35 past the hour. He is a brand new recurring guest here in 2022. He is a doctor, and we call him Robert Moss. Barbecue contributing editor to Southern Living Magazine. Of course, you can find him and writing at his website, Robert F. as in Frank, robertfmoss.com. He has the Q sheet. You can subscribe to that. Comes out a few times a month, typically on the weekend. So if you're not doing anything, you're getting ready for playoff football in advance, you can see what's happening in the world of live fire with the Q sheet. Robert has agreed to come on at 35 past the first hour in 2022, and we'll talk about things that he's writing about. We'll also grab some hot topics and go back and forth with those. Robert, always well-researched and has a bunch of good things going on all the time. So great addition as far as the recurring guests are concerned. Then we will move to the second hour. While I didn't think that it would happen. The majority of me thought that this wasn't going to happen this year. However, I'm wrong, and as we will find out at 14 past the second hour, through the help of first-timer to the show, Jessica F. Land, the Smithfield Grant Program 2022 version will be exclusively announced on the show. I'm to understand that there could be gusts of up to 24 different contests scattered throughout the country that will be getting the Smithfield Grant, but we'll see what that final number ends up being here this evening as Jessica joins us for the first time. We've gone through not a huge number, but a number of folks from Smithfield, so a brand new one that we'll get to learn about, on top of learning about if there will be also a corresponding committed cooks program and who those lucky recipients of the Smithfield Grant will be here in 2022. So if you are a promoter or a contest putter honor and you applied for this, you might want to tune in about an hour from now or an hour and 10 minutes from now when Jessica joins the show for the first time and we talk about who gets a Smithfield Grant. And as far as what's left after that, it's the ever-popular open segment. Your chance to win fun and frivolous prizes. Do you remember a year ago? Can you remember this? When it was my mission over the course of a month or two to get through this reference material, the reference material on processing, cooking, and buying horse meat for human consumption. A year has elapsed, if you can believe it. We didn't even get through all of the 16 and 1/2 pages of this whole thing. If you can believe it. I thought for sure we would just boogie right through it by mid-February at the latest. But no, we couldn't even get through it over the course of 2021. That's how busy the show is. So maybe we'll get to some of that. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll use Clubhouse. Maybe we won't. But I have stuff to give away if we make it that far. So we'll see what happens. That's what's happening. Meathead, Robert Moss, first hour. Jessica F. Land from Smithfield, Associate Brand Manager. And we'll be talking about the Smithfield Grant Program. Open all after that. Do you follow me socially? You should. At Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat at BBQ Central Shows, the handle there for live video feeds of the show. You can go to Facebook and Twitch, both /BBQ Central Show. Also one on YouTube /RD Rempe. And as I just mentioned, there is live audio in the Clubhouse app, which I didn't turn on. I should have a thing, right? I have a room. Yeah, there we go. All right. Now we've started the room. Now you can get live audio on Clubhouse. I had it launched. I just, for some reason, didn't have it ready to start when I should have had it started. But now it is. So there you go. That's how we'll take calls. That's how we'll take questions right there on Clubhouse if you want to use it. If not, just listen all the other 748 ways that you can. 2 general items as far as show feedback is concerned last week, and I have a couple others from a couple weeks ago that I'll try and get to as well. I got a lot of emails and messages about Phyllis Straughter's appearance. Many of you loved the branding conversation. Some of you thought she was a bit harsh on the evaluation, specifically of my Instagram account. Others of you loved her raw and honest evaluation. Look, I took zero offense to her feedback. It wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. It wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. But the bottom line is this. I asked for the feedback in the first place, so all good here. And if you're interested in getting in touch with the self-proclaimed ghetto country brand mother to help you define your brand a bit more, hit her website and tell her that the show sent you. CKOcreator.com is the website, I believe, going off of memory. CKOcreator.com. And if you do it, if you get in touch with Phyllis, you take her master class or she takes you through some other type of branding classes, you get through all of it, let me know that you're done and you have a review, I'll have you on the show. We'll do it. We'll do a review of CKO Creator and see what it's all about. Also, I got a lot of this email last week, but I get this one a lot each month, and it sounds something along these lines. Greg, one of my favorite segments is with you and Sam the Cooking Guy. How unreasonable is it to think that you two should be putting some kind of podcast out talking about cooking and social commentary? I think it would be great. Conceptually, it sounds like it would be dynamite. But I have a day job. I have this. Sam is easily 16 to 27 more times busier than me. There's a lot of things that he does outside of just the YouTube. So while I don't disagree that it could be magic, I think there's the biggest issue would be time more than anything else. Because the chemistry is there. It's undeniable. We're in love. All right, let me talk to you quickly about David McDowell and the Do Wellness / David Leans. Did you know that people that set a goal 4 to 6 weeks before they start getting it on are 3 to 10 times, yes, 10 times more likely to achieve their fitness goal? Be honest. How long have you been wanting to lose a few pounds? How long has that been on the to-do list? If you listen to the show, you do it because you love barbecue, and a lot of us make habits of getting second, third, and fourth servings of barbecue because it's delicious. But what effect has that had on our activity level that isn't what it used to be? Maybe you think that having a dad bod is cool, but take it from a stud like me, it's not. There's nothing sexy about wearing your gluttony everywhere you go, not to mention being overweight increases the risk factor for all causes of mortality, including strokes, most cancers, coronary artery disease, sleep apnea, and the list goes on. Luckily, thanks to my pal and friend of show, barbecue enthusiast, and men's health and wellness coach and expert David McDowell, you can now eat barbecue all year round and still lose the fat. With David, you got assistance around the clock. He's just a text message, an iMessage, or a WhatsApp message, or an email away. He's also available for FaceTime, Zoom, a WhatsApp video chat, whatever you need, even on short notice. Some coaches charging upwards of $500 a month for a canned diet plan and 1 to 2 check-ins a month. Forget that. Partnering with David allows you access to a resource who's available effectively 24/7. Things have gone so well here over the last 3-4 weeks. He's extending it out, the promo. $2,300 in total for the year. Not $500, not $400, not $300. You can do the math. Don't wait. Get on it now. Hit the website, David Leans, Leans, davidleans.com/barbecue to sign up. That's davidleans.com/BBQ. davidleans.com/BBQ. $2,300 in total to get your coaching to help you lose the fat. Meathead is ready to rock and roll, and we'll be back right after this. Stick around.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, creators of automatic pit temperature control technology, sellers of ceramic cookers with built-in power draft fans, accessories to make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Visit bbqguru.com for more information or call them 800-288-GURU. The Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. Oh, you know what that sound is? That's right. Heading to the hotline, we are welcoming in none other than the creator of the AmazingRibs.com website, Meathead. Hey, Meathead. What's happening?
How are you, Greg? And hello, Centralites. How is everybody in 2022, the year in which it ends?
What ends?
Oh, God, I hope it's the virus.
Oh, yes, let's hope. You and me both. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you know, I mean, my favorite things in life are dining out, going to theater, and traveling, and there's been damn little of that in the past 2 years.
What have you found to fill time?
I work. You know, there's this great myth about the entrepreneur, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are entrepreneurs and self-employed and business owners, but, you know, when you start a business, especially if it's in your home, it never leaves you alone. I work 7 days a week, and I have for more than 40 years, and I'll tell you, it's getting old. I mean, I do love what I'm doing, but, you know, you watch Shark Tank and you see these guys and you want to say to them, you got a 9-to-5 job, you got health care, you got a mortgage and you're paying it off. Stick with it. Don't start your own business.
Doesn't that kill the American spirit? Isn't that what makes business and the definition of entrepreneurship is doing it on your own and thinking of something and bringing it to market and being a success? By the way, if I can be completely hypocritical because I love to live in hypocrisy, I agree with you. Stay with your 9-to-5 and shut up.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a great deal. I love the fact that I own my own business. I come to work when I want. I go home when I want. It's 7 days a week. It never bothers me. You know, there were days when all my people got paid before me, you know. That's breaking rule number one. If you listen to the guys on Shark Tank, you talk to any business advisor, pay yourself first. Don't quit your day jobs. But it's okay. Yeah. Especially now in COVID. I mean, you know, it's perfect for me. I just plug away. But business, you know, we are very, very close to a new book contract, and it's a really good deal. I'm very happy about it. I have just we've been publishing quietly on the side over the past year little ebooks, and they're not so little, actually. I've done 5 of them now. One on ribs, one on chicken, one on sous vide Q, one on steak, and one on turkey. And I'm finishing off brisket now. And they just contain everything I know about ribs and brisket and turkey and stuff. And they're ebooks, and they are $3.99 a piece, and they sell on Amazon and elsewhere. But they're free to the members of our Pitmaster Club now. We've used to be a flip book format, but you can now download them as PDFs, and they're really good. And I just revised them all in December. I completely rewrote them from top to bottom, and I'm real proud of them. They're pretty decent, and for $3.99, they're a good deal.
All right, so be on the lookout for those ebooks. If you're on Amazon or if you're a Pitmasters Club member, you probably already know about those. And we'll see. I guess as you get
if you
more...
want to know more,
yeah,
they're called deep dives, and we created a URL for them. Just go to deepdive.guide, deepdive.guide, and it'll take you to our website with a description of them all.
As you get more information and details you can share about the book, please fish them out to us so we can track this.
Yeah,
I am, of course, incredibly interested to see how that tracks. And I remember some guy named Meathead who told me if I ever attempt to write a second book, just drag me out in the back and shoot me. So I'm not going to shoot you, but I will remind you that you said that, amongst many other things. But we'll see how this one goes.
I am Mr. Negativity, aren't I? You know,
well,
for a guy who loves his work,
I don't think you were being negative at all, Meathead. Here's what I think: this was Meathead being at his most honest. You wrote a book. Yeah. It went over like gangbusters. It was a bestseller. It's one of the
250,000 copies.
The reference material, top 10 reference material of all time for barbecue or whatever. So I mean, it received all these great accolades. And what that signals to me is you were able to accomplish a project. And you weren't overly passionate about being an author. Not that you weren't passionate about getting the information out to the public, which you were, but you also have to have some kind of a passion to be a book writer. Like Stephen Reichlin likes to write.
There's a theme here, Greg. You've just opened my eyes to the theme.
Of course I did.
And that is, I hate work.
Yes, who doesn't? Join the club.
I love my job. People often ask me, do you play video games? What's your favorite video game? I don't play video games. I don't have to climb the brick wall and put out the fire and slay the dragon and capture the beautiful damsel in distress. I have to deal with copyright violations, employees who are asleep on the job, broken links. It's a nonstop everyday challenge, and that is okay. I'm just being cranky today, I guess. Hey, ask me what I'm drinking.
What are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking. We're going to talk about cold weather grilling and everything. I am drinking my homemade glug.
Wow.
This is glug is a Swedish wine and brandy and herb and spice blend. And I've been making it every year for over 40 years.
Wow.
And each year I improve it slightly. And the recipe is on AmazingRibs.com. It is the most awesome after ski drink. You usually serve it warm with a twist of orange. And it's just awesome stuff. It's potent. It's real potent. So if I start, stumbling over my words tonight, you know why.
Do you keep a bottle every year and reserve one to see?
Yes, it ages nicely.
Yeah.
It's got port and brandy and red wine in it.
Oh dear.
And it ages very nicely. 1 year old is good. 2 year old is excellent.
Oh, so you don't have the original, like you do, let's say 12 bottles a year and you keep one?
I wish. I wish.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. No, I keep a few bottles from every year. I make, this is a magnum. This is a big
I can
boy.
tell. It looks like you're already halfway through it tonight.
Well, not tonight. I wish.
All right. Meathead from AmazingRibs.com joining us here on the show, of course. And tonight we're talking about something called cold weather cooking tips. As I'd mentioned in the open a couple weeks ago, even through Christmas, it was 50 degrees out here, 55, maybe even touching 60. So you don't really think about it. But then as the week started here, it was teens at best. It's single to below zero with wind chill here in Cleveland, at least. So that now rings the bell of cold weather cooking. So as you think about that, and as people ask you about that every year, what are your top fielded questions, and what's your best advice?
Well, okay, everybody knows it's cold out there. And of course, that means that the metal on your grill and your smoker are colder. What you may not realize is it also means that in the combustion process, you've got gas or charcoal or logs, and they all need oxygen, and the air is colder. So you're going to need more fuel. You're going to go, so make sure if you're using propane, you've got an extra tank around. If you're going to use charcoal, you make sure you got plenty of bags laying around, plenty of logs, and try to keep your logs dry. People drape tarps over the top of them. Wood doesn't get wet easily. I mean, we've talked about this before. They build boats out of wood because it doesn't absorb a lot of water. But as wood dries out, it will absorb some water. So if you've got a stack of lumber in the yard that you burn, you need to cover it or move it into the garage or someplace. Don't put it in the house because there's, potato bugs and stuff in there, and they'll get into the house. But try to keep it dry and warm if you can. And you're going to need more of it. Whatever you need normally, you're going to need more because of the cold air. But the big issue that a lot of people struggle with is rain and wind and snow, particularly wind. Wind is, it wicks away the heat that you're warming the interior of the grill, but you're also warming the skin of the grill, the metal. And that cold wind, that's like convection oven in reverse. It's a fan that blows away the heat, and that's just going to chew up more charcoal or gas or logs or pellets or whatever you're burning. So you're going to need to dial it up, and if you can, you want to try to block that wind. Of course, rain and snow are a problem. You want to brush the snow off your machine. If it's raining, you want to try to put a cover over the top. But the wind can be a bitter enemy, truly bitter. And what a lot of people I've seen do, particularly Weber Smoky Mountain people have done this, is they build a folding box. You get like 4 sheets of plywood and you hinge them, and you can just fold them up and put them in the corner of the garage. But you can also open them up and enclose the machine with these plywood sides, which will do a good job of blocking. I've seen people build permanent boxes for their units. They look like phone booths. That's a really good solution. You can use all kinds of. You can use insulation. You want to be careful, but you can use some welding blankets. You want to make sure that it can withstand a warm grill. And that there's no sparks or anything. Hot water heater insulators can work. You got to research and make sure that they're not going to catch on fire. Reflective foil insulation also can work. But here's a trick that a lot of people don't think of. Put bricks inside your cooker. Put bricks in your grill or your smoker. What happens is those bricks then heat up as the grill and smoker preheat, and they retain heat. They become a heat sink, and they hold heat, and they also push out air. They occupy space. They displace air, so they can hold heat, and they allow less cold air in, and loading up your machine. So if you've got yourself an offset smoker and you're cooking on one side, put a stack of bricks on the other side, and it takes a while to get them heated up. But now you've got this warm brick element in there that helps.
Would you put those in a bullet-style smoker?
Yeah, you can. You've got 2 shelves in a Smoky Mountain or a bullet-style smoker, so you can put them on the lower shelf if you're cooking on the upper shelf.
All right.
Or you could put them down where the water pan goes. Water is a nice thing because a lot of people think that water replenishes the moisture in the meat, but it doesn't do that so much. What water does is the humidity will condense on the meat. Meat is colder than the air inside a smoker, even on a cold day. So what happens is the moisture will condense on the meat. And when it condenses on the meat, then it cools the meat and slows the cook. And slow is the right thing to do for tough cuts of meat. So that is just a form of basting. That's why the Weber Smoky Mountain water pan, people put sand in there a lot.
Yeah. And
I think that's a mistake. I think you want water in there because it will condense on the meat, cool the meat. It will help keep it moist. But in winter, you could, if you needed to, put some bricks down in there and maybe put the pan on top of the bricks or something. Something else that you need to be conscious of, I've heard people concerned that when it's really cold, the gas won't flow, the propane won't flow into their gas grill. Don't worry about it. What happens is there's liquid inside that tank, and it boils. It essentially turns to gas, and it boils at minus 44 Fahrenheit. So unless your outdoor temperature, and you're in Alaska or the Arctic or someplace, if it goes down below minus 44, then you got a problem. But it's not going to stop boiling. Your regulator will control it. You don't have to worry about your propane functioning properly. And if you've got a gas line running from the house, then that gas line is warm in the house, and that warm gas is going to push any cold gas through the line. It's nothing to worry about, but you will use more fuel. One important word of caution: don't move a grill indoors. Don't move it. If you have an attached garage, resist the temptation to move a grill into a garage, especially a propane or a gas grill. It produces carbon monoxide, and that carbon monoxide can find its way into the house, get into your kid's bedroom. You just don't want to ever have. Just leave it outdoors and burn lots of extra fuel.
That was my biggest piece of advice when people ask me is just remember that you're going to have to use a bunch more fuel, because 225 at 80 degrees overnight in July is different than 225 in your cooker at 18 degrees in mid-December with the brisk wind or even a little bit of wind. I mean, it's just the fire requires more energy to keep it at that set point that you want to than it does in the summer. So you're going to be eating through more fuel. Makes perfect sense. The other thing I always say is don't forget, even when it's cold out, if your grill is running, it's going to be hot. So don't touch the top of the grill like a moron because you think it's 18 degrees outside and the top of the grill isn't going to be hot when it's on because it's still going to be hot.
It's still going to be hot.
Yes, of course.
I've written about this on the website, and I posted some questions on Facebook about how do people fight cold weather, and got some great pictures from people showing how they built windbreaks. This is really cool stuff they've done on AmazingRibs.com. When we rebuilt the website last spring, we moved to WordPress from Drupal. When we did that, the search engine is so much better on our site now. Just go to the search box under the little magnifying glass and type in cold weather or cold weather cooking, and you'll find it. And there's a good article there with some nice pictures and some of the topics we just covered. Of course, I forgot one important thing, and probably a bunch of people out there are going to start yelling at me. Ceramic cookers. Ceramic cookers, they're your friend.
Yeah.
I have some problems with some of the design concepts behind the round ceramic or the egg-shaped ceramic cookers because I'm a real devotee of two-zone cooking, and it's hard to do two-zone properly on an egg, but this is where they shine. If you're in a cold climate, a ceramic cooker is your friend because they're like the bricks. They absorb heat, they hold heat, they radiate heat, and they just laugh at cold weather.
All right, go to AmazingRibs.com, use the search function, cold weather cooking tips, and see what pops up aside from all the items that we've talked about here this evening. For the next 2 minutes, Meathead, let's pontificate just for a moment on the state of the industry or the potential state of the industry. Charbroil, a couple weeks ago, did a whole big online release.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of crappily done, but whatever. About this thermostatically controlled grill. You and I have talked about it endlessly for as long as we've gotten together.
Years.
How come you can't have a grill outside that operates like an oven inside?
Yes.
We've talked about why that may or may not be, but it just never seemed to come to fruition. And now in 2022, this Charbroil Cruise, I believe is the name of it, is going to be perhaps the first one to hit the market that has a thermostatic control on it. I know the manufacturer out of Canada, Winter Products. It is a Charbroil Brain, but the manufacturer is out of Canada. And then I'm guessing now that Weber is also going to be releasing something a week from now on the 18th that might be also a thermostatically controlled grill. So
yeah, they're teasing something, and their tease shows a digital temperature guide there. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, because I've been nagging all of these guys. You know, if you want more people to do outdoor cooking, make it as easy as indoor cooking.
Do you think even if it's just Charbroil, but let's add Weber on top a week from tonight, let's say they bring one to market, do you think at that point this changes the landscape of the industry for grillers going forward?
Yes. I think it's a sea change. I think it's massive. I think it's in the same league with pellet grills and pellet smokers. I think that's one of the reasons why Traeger and the pellet smokers have become so popular. They are an oven, really. They're not very good at direct infrared radiant heat cooking like grilling a steak, but they're awesome at roasting and baking and smoking. And they're brain dead simple. You can set the temperature. And we've done this. The fluctuation of temperature is tighter on a pellet grill than it is on my indoor oven. And that's why people love them. And we all love the flavor, we all love the romance and the fun of cooking outdoors. But not everybody wants to sit by the fire, nurture the fire. Thank goodness we have digital thermometers now. But the artisanal aspects of it, the pit mastership of, feeding the logs and everything, that's not cut out for everybody. And I think a gas grill that is thermostatically controlled. Now, one thing I've seen about the Charbroil is it does not look like it can be set up in two zones, which is a pet peeve of mine. And I think it's essential. I don't know about the Weber. We'll see if the Weber is, in fact, thermostatic driven. But I think this is going to be a sea change. It's going to make outdoor grilling a lot more popular, particularly among people who are experienced in indoor cooking, and women in particular. I think this could make a huge difference in the marketplace if they're not too expensive. They shouldn't be. These thermostats shouldn't be that expensive.
Now, Charbroiled Grill is probably not going to be more than $600 anyway. They're not known for really grabbing the upper echelon of the pocketbook. So we'll see what happens. I think it's springtime-ish on the release, maybe a little bit earlier than that, but we'll see how it goes. This is Meathead from AmazingRibs.com, and you find him, yes?
Oh, I was just going to say, I know that I'm doing just a 30-minute gig, right, today?
Yes.
Yeah, and the next 30 minutes is my friend Robert Moss.
Yes.
Did you know Robert is now contributing to AmazingRibs.com?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's been writing a few things for us. In fact, he came on board about 2 months ago, and he's done a consulting gig with us and helped us with editing. And he's written some articles for us, and we're looking forward to him doing more.
All right. Well, he's up next, so we'll see what he's up to. In the meantime, visit Amazing Ribs.
Brilliant.
He is brilliant. He's very good.
He's brilliant.
AmazingRibs.com is Meathead's website. Go check it out. Go get your recipe for glug as he continues to suck that back here through the interview. It's great. It's warming. Orange peel. You say orange peel or lemon peel?
It's got orange. It's got all kinds of good stuff in it. Cinnamon, clove, almonds, orange peel. Often you garnish it with. It's just wonderful.
All right, try it out, and then in the meantime, go to AmazingRibs.com, and we'll see Meathead in February. Meathead, always appreciate the time.
It's always good to visit with you and the Centralites. Happy New Year, everyone.
There he is, Meathead. AmazingRibs.com, of course. So head on over there for more cold weather tips if you would like them. Or the recipe for glug. Especially delicious on the cold winter nights like tonight. Hey, speaking of ceramic cookers, they're your friend in cold weather. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that they retain heat. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We also love that they can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling like steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday ceramic lineup? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking is a very important thing for both professionals and backyard cooks. The best way to manage a fire, cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker, not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill and their game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute a two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well, like that heat retention. Really, when you break it down, this Primo can be configured 60 different ways, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination on how you want to set it up. Now, here are the things that we know that happened last year as far as improvements and accessories. The lift hinge has been revamped. You have the top and bottom air dampers being revamped. Added to the accessory portfolio, things like the Primo Grill rotisserie, the pizza grill accessory, the half drip pan, also that rib rack to fit the same shape, the oval design that the Primo is. Here's the bottom line. Best ceramics in the biz, yes. Patented technology, yes. True two-zone cooking capabilities in multiple sizes, yes and yes. By the way, if you just have to have a round one, they have those as well. But really, consider the oval for Pete's sake. Be a game changer in the neighborhood. Visit PrimoGrill.com to find a dealer near you, only sold through dealers. That's PrimoGrill.com. Or follow them on Facebook and Instagram. PrimoGrill.com. We're back with Robert Moss right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can see there are other products that they're offering as well. CB and the gang out there in Wisconsin making great pellets. and we thank them for their continued sponsorship of the show here as we move into 2022. My next guest is the contributing barbecue editor for Southern Living Magazine, friend of this show, and a new monthly recurring guest. 35 past the first hour. We welcome back Robert Moss. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Greg. How's it going?
I am absolutely spectacular. Appreciate you making time for the show this evening. Also, we thank you for becoming our newest recurring monthly guest here on the second Tuesday. So we have
looking forward to it.
We have a Meathead load, and then we're going to have Robert Moss backing him up. So to me, that's a great first hour any way you put it. So happy to have you aboard here on the show. Number of different things to talk about here. Let me ask you, as a follow-up to the way Meathead and I left his segment, as you look at cookers, we've long talked about how come there isn't a thermostatically controlled gas grill. You see it in the pellet cookers, of course. You can pick any temperature within 5 degrees, and magically it stays there. A little bit of a curve, of course, but you can set the temperature, and that seems to be a lot of appeal to folks. And finally, on Charbroil's agenda, they're going to be releasing something called the Cruise. It is a thermostatically controlled gas grill. I'm anticipating Weber might be also introducing one a week from tonight on the 18th, as they've been leading up to some big release/promotion next Tuesday. So assuming there's definitely going to be one, but let's say there's 2 thermostatically controlled grills. Do you think that this is as Meathead put it, a sea change or a watershed moment within the grilling industry in 2022 going forward?
I think it's an interesting moment. I don't know if I would go quite as far as calling it a sea change. And now I'll admit my bias, which is I don't really cook with gas grills or a lot of the high tech, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi enabled stuff. So I tend to be more shoveling wood and coal kind of person. So that's my bias coming into it. I think it's interesting though, like all the rest of the technology. I don't know that it's a sea change in the sense that it's going to bring a whole lot of new people into the backyard grilling. I'm not sure that's what's standing between people grilling right now is I can't figure out how to control the temperature on my gas grill. I do think it sounds like a great feature that somebody who's already much into grilling will indeed like. And I agree that you could set and forget with a pellet grill. It seems like doing that with a gas grill is a good innovation. So I think it's an interesting innovation. I don't know if it's a major sea change.
Do you think the sea change might be more of people going away from just the standard knob dials and deciding to buy the next grill that's thermostatically controlled then?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's sort of like, it's just the next evolution in the grill. And why would you go backwards to not being able to do that? The one thing I did think about it, is that, it depends on what you're doing. I guess if you're going to use your gas grill more like an oven for roasting or baking, then that gives you that kind of precise temperature, which was hard to do. It's hard to do with a high, medium, low. I'm not sure how much it changes your grilling, because I think you're going to just get a fire up or down. Like your stove doesn't really have you don't set your stove to 500 degrees or anything. You just want to turn it to high and go. But no, I think it's definitely will be a step up, and probably it will be like everything else. It's going to become a table stakes that you have to have as a grill manufacturer to have, at least one of the nicer grills out there. You'll need that. Robert Moss joining us here on the show, robertfmoss.com, his website, also the author of the Q Sheet, which comes out. How often are you sending that out? A couple times a month? Yeah, I'm trying to do it 2 times a month now. I had done it once. I was doing it weekly at one point back during the COVID days, but I wasn't doing anything else. So I had lots of time to work on it. And then once all the festival scene kicked back up and suddenly I had stuff to do in the weekends, I had to dial that back. And so I'm doing it about twice a month now. So let's recap that as you kind of stepped on it, whether you knowingly did that or not. Yep. The Holy Smokes Lowcountry BBQ Festival was held November 13th in Charleston. We had talked 13th. About it a couple weeks ago, or a couple weeks in advance of that actually taking place. So love a recap and see how it actually came off. Yeah, that's. I feel very fortunate, and I was proud to be a part of it. It turned off. It came out really, really great. We thought it was going to be good, and it turned out to be even better than we thought. Part of it was we got really lucky on the weather. It was just an absolutely gorgeous day in the mid 60s. And we were at this beautiful outdoor venue called The Bend, which looks out over the Ashley River in Charleston. So it's beautiful low country marsh landscape. And you couldn't have asked for a better setting or a better better weather. So that all helped. It had been raining and cold. It would not have been nearly as much fun. But then we had 24 pit masters from all over. We had over 3,000 tickets sold. So we sold out, and then we had close to 4,000 total attendees, all in with all the cooks and the guests and everybody else. So that went off really well. And, we were worried about it with COVID and everything else. But as it turned out, that turned out not to be a big issue. And it was a great weekend. And so we're, the whole team behind it was, I think very pleased with it. We're going to be trying to do it again next year around the same time. So November of 2022, if all goes well.
When you started doing a breakdown / post-mortem of the event to figure out what you might be able to do better, what did you learn that you would apply to next year?
Yeah, well, you always learn something. I think the biggest thing we learned was, I think, about layout, how we laid out the venue and how we laid out all the pitmaster villages, as we called them. We did something a little bit different than your typical barbecue event. Typical barbecue event, each pitmaster gets their own little booth or station, and you sort of go around to each one and get served. In this case, we're actually doing very collaborative. So we had all the pitmasters had about 8 or 10 in each, teamed up in each village, and we had some long lines that developed, and it's more just the dynamics. What we didn't quite take into account was that everybody would get there and immediately get in line and just eat right out of the gate, and so you sort of had this rush all at once. But even though we heard good feedback that it wasn't that long of a wait, because the lines did move very quickly, but I think we'll space things out a little bit differently and maybe split it up into some different villages, a little bit different layout next time. But apart from that was the big thing. And again, it turned out fine. There's more just as an organizer, you sort of, things you want to tweak and do a little bit better next time.
What do you think festivals are going to look like this year, given the Omicron variant and, not being as severe, but it seems to be sweeping the nation? I'm not going to get into a whole political thing here, but as somebody that puts on these things, what are your concerns and what are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that it won't look too much different. 2020, everybody, first postponed it. Everybody was going to postpone from the spring of 2020 to the fall of 2020, and then thinking everything would be gone. Of course, it wasn't gone. So a lot of events ended up getting canceled altogether, and they just said, we'll try again in 2021. But most everything came off in 2021. And one of the things that barbecue festivals have proven is that, hey, they're outdoors. It's actually one of the better if you want to get a bunch of people together, it's much better to do it in a giant outdoor venue than to cram everybody into a concert inside an auditorium or something like that. So I think that, assuming it's not too dangerous for just people to get together in general, that is a format that is better suited to a lot of other forms of gathering. So we'll see. My hope is that, some of the predictions are right and we'll burn through this pretty quickly. There's not a lot going on festival wise in January, February, March anyway. It usually kicks up in the in May time frame when it starts to get warm. So hopefully by then, knock on wood, we'll be in much better position and the festivals will be able to come off as like they did in 2021. And 2021, everybody was a little more distant. Everybody had checks and stuff like that. So I think you'll have a lot of safety things, but hopefully we'll be able to have them.
Robert Moss joining us here on the show. RobertFMoss.com, his website. Let's do a quick recap of 2021 as we kind of were just talking about that. People can, by the way, subscribe to the newsletter to get the full rundown, or they can just go back to your archives and see you did kind of a whole postmortem of 2021 the way you saw it. So let's get a quick rundown of how you look back at it, maybe the top 2 or 3 things, the biggest things that happened in the live fire industry.
Yeah, well, one of the big things, of course, is Traeger and Weber went public. So that was, a lot of money sort of it flowed into the barbecue industry in a lot of different areas. So one of them is the backyard, grilling enthusiast market. That was really, on fire, literally from a sales perspective. The companies did very, very well. And then they, decided it was a good time to go public. But I think you're seeing a lot of private equity money that got poured into that market, a market that was often a niche in the past. I think the same thing's happening in barbecue restaurants. You see a lot of in 2021. I wrote a lot about what the trend of new barbecue restaurants are usually second locations of existing barbecue restaurants opening inside of mixed use developments. So there are a lot of developers are out there who are taking old warehouses and old kind of industrial type places and converting them into these mixed use places that are apartments and offices and retail space and restaurants. And they're actually going out and actively recruiting a lot of successful barbecue restaurateurs to come open another location in their development because it's a large draw for people. And so, there you have a lot of well-funded or better funded, I should say. It's not mom and pops operating a shoestring like it used to be. So I think, we saw a lot of that in 2021 and probably will just continue to grow in 2022.
Let's go ahead as you talk about 2022 and do a little prognostication. Everybody loves to do that as the year closes and the new year opens. Things that you think might be trending this year, or things that are on your list that maybe nobody else is talking about, but you're secretly thinking that this might be something that's going to pop off that you can look back at the end of the year and go, yeah, I called that one back in January.
Horse meat for sure. I think, with the price of beef going up, 2022 could be the year of horse.
I don't know if you need a reference material on how to process, cook, and buy horse meat, but I have the one written here by your friend and mine, Leon Kenny, who, of course, was in the he was a newspaper man back in the 50s when this thing was written. Almost 17 pages, if you could call them pages. And we almost got through it last year, but it's quite interesting. I should scan you the whole thing so you can take a read.
Yeah, like when he says process, how big does he start off? Does he start with like one horse? Is that the entry size, or is it?
Yeah, he's talking about all the cuts,
entire horse and go from there.
The horse, the cuts that come out of the horse, then how you would go. Well, I mean, the beginning of the book talks about all of the myths and concerns and things that are true, things that aren't true, and then the backside of the book is more. With this cut, you would want to attack cooking it this way, and with this cut, you would want to attack cooking it this way. And again, there's a lot of sexist things going on in here. It's a lot of women cooking, and while the men are at work, kind of thing. So it's a little dated in that regard, but it's quite interesting. If you've ever had the fascination like I have to chase that rabbit hole or go down that rabbit hole. It's worth the read. I mean, it would probably take you about 6 seconds to read because it's 16 and a half of those size pages.
Well, you want to keep it short so you don't lose your audience. I don't know that 2022 is actually going to be the year of horse. Maybe 2023. I do think, though, you're going to see a lot more unusual meats and unusual preparations of barbecue on the scene. It was already happening in 2021. I think, the fusion of barbecue has been huge. What I thought was interesting when Daniel Vaughn did his top 25 or top 50 barbecue joints in Texas for Texas Monthly, he did this whole thing about how it's no longer amazing or unusual to find amazing brisket in Texas. It's just sort of table stakes. And I think that's what you're starting to see in barbecue is that, everyone does brisket. Everyone does ribs. Everybody, you have to do something to set yourself out from the crowd. So I've been, seeing a lot of it starting to appear. I see Pitmaster is definitely interested in doing a lot more, just less common meats. We see a lot of lamb these days, which you used to not see. I think we talked about lamb a while back on the show. I wouldn't be surprised to see goat and things of that nature really start to come in. There's been a lot of like Siberia tacos, which are really usually made with beef now, but were originally goat. So I have a feeling that, as that kind of stuff gets popular, you're going to see people digging back and saying, oh, okay, well, you make it with beef, but I do it the old school way and use goat. So maybe not horse, but I bet you'll get some goat on the menus come up in 2022. Probably things like mutton as well, which fell out of favor, but is still a traditional cut, especially up in Kentucky. So that's what I'd look for.
You have a new book coming out February 15th. While it's not technically a barbecue book, I think there are some crossroads of barbecue that mix into that. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually barbecue led me to the topic, and the topic it's called The Lost Southern Chefs, and it's a history of commercial dining in the South. And so by commercial dining, I mean anything where you would pay money to eat. So it could be restaurants, it could be saloons, it could be a hotel, ballrooms and banquets. There's a lot of catering in the 19th century as restaurants evolved. And I sort of got into it by digging into a couple of barbecue cooks from Augusta who were noted for cooking at these huge outdoor events. And that got me into sort of their background. And one of them ended up being a restaurant cook. A lot of the caterers, and these were guys who were making like these giant banquets for militia units and giant organizations, hundreds of people of attendance. So very fancy fine dining, but they also cooked barbecue. And so there's a guy named Tom Griffin and was the leading caterer in Richmond, Virginia before the Civil War. He actually had a saloon in downtown Richmond. And then he had like this whole, sort of place on the river outside of Richmond where you'd host all these militia companies for outdoor barbecues and things like that. So he could do both. He could cook you a pig, and then he could turn around and go cook a bunch of oysters and duck and fine dining downtown the next day. So that dug me into that whole world. And not a lot of people have written about 19th century restaurants, particularly in the South. And so I turned up a whole lot of stuff, and barbecue led me to a whole new topic. So I'm looking forward to that one coming out in mid-February. It's coming to be here before I know it. It seemed like it took forever to write the thing and get it out the door, and now it's almost here.
How long did it take?
It was weird. It's a university press book, so it's an academic book, and those wheels move slow. So it probably took me about 1.5 years to write the thing, with the research and everything, and then probably 3 years to go through the publication process. COVID held it up a good bit, and then when you do an academic book, it has to get reviewed. It goes through 18 layers of everything, so it just takes a long time. So yeah, it took me a lot less time to write it than it did to get to the publication process.
So you could be pushing 5 years by the time this thing gets out.
Yeah, that's about right.
Wow.
Yeah. That's sort of typical. It's usually that's a little bit slower than normal. That one got held up, but it's usually at least 1 year turnaround time from the time you submit the final manuscript until the book comes out.
You're going to have to
know what they're doing.
Are you in the process of writing the revision book already?
Yeah, I'm more just go get that going in real time as we get through it. So at least it's nice thing about 19th century is it's not really going to be out of date by the time the book comes out, because the 19th century isn't really going to change.
No doubt. Robert F. Moss is the website.com, robertfmoss.com, the website. Be sure to check that out, and you will see him on the second Tuesday of every month in the 35 past the first hour segment. Robert, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing it.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks.
There he is, Robert Moss right there. Dr. Robert Moss, if you are being formal. And be sure to look for that new book coming out February 15th, so we're just a little over a month. You can go to robertfmoss.com and check out the Rediscovering the Lost Southern Chefs. All right, happy to have him aboard in a recurring role. Lots of great topics that we pounded through there, all great takes. Let me talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills. Some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. The Prime line features the Peak and the Ledge. Now, the portable one is the Trek, so if you want to take it to a pro football playoff game, and those are quickly dwindling. College football season is over as of yesterday. I didn't even know the college football national championship was on. Missed it. Sorry. The Peak and the Ledge are your options for the backyard. If you would like to save a couple bucks, the Choice line is the one you want to take a look at. You have a Daniel Boone size, if you're familiar with that. All these grills, except the Trek, but all these grills do accommodate the pizza oven insert, sold through dealers only. So go to greenmountaingrill.com, locate a dealer near you, and then visit that dealer, get educated, pick the one that is best for you. Take it home, and you are going to have success right off the bat because they told you everything you need to know about it. greenmountaingrill.com. That's greenmountaingrill.com. And we'll be back to wrap the first hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show. Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And this portion being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth. If you have smart speakers in your home, you're in luck. Fireboard integrated with most of them. Find out by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. That's Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive, Fireboard 2 Pro, and the Fireboard Spark. And we thank Robert Moss for joining us just this past segment, and we thank Meathead after that, although there appears to be some controversy rolling through the Facebook chat. I'll have to talk with Meathead offline. Nevertheless, Great first hour. We have a great second hour planned for you. If you would like to jump in, I'm happy to have you on Clubhouse. We'll get to some other things as well at the top. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.